Talk to people. Ask questions. You don't know what you don't know, so get to know people whose experiences are different from yours. Play some games with them, be a friend to them, have fun together. Dale Critchley.
You're listening to Writing Roots, brought to you by Aspen House Publishing.
Welcome to Writing Roots. I'm Lee Hull.
And I'm Lee Esses. Today's episode, we're talking about one of the reasons why so many people are drawn to tabletop stories, and that is the amount of diversity you can have, not only with the players, but with the characters, and how it approaches societal problems in a way that people feel like they can solve personally.
I love tieflings. I always want to be a tiefling in my stories, or elves, always rangers. I want to have abilities that I can't have in real life. That's why I never really play the fighters or the melee people. I mean, granted, I'm not a fighter. But if I had to fight, I could figure it out. But I can't wield magic. I want magic, man. So that's one thing when it comes to TTRPGs, it helps you step outside yourself and experience things that you wouldn't before. A lot of people use TTRPGs and character to explore sexuality. Magic, especially, makes gender fluid and trans characters simple because it doesn't matter.
I was recently reading a lit RPG, which is a style of writing that we're going to talk about later this month that is based around gaming. And the main character was a trans person, and they struggled so much because the gender that they were assigned at birth was not the gender they felt that they were. So the character gets dropped into a VR game and then loses all their memory from outside. And they feel like this body is right. The magic of storytelling can help people understand what different points of views are like, if it's something that they've craved their entire life, or if it's something that they've never understood before. Approaching these types of characters make you a better person as a whole.
Most TTRPG worlds don't care about gender. Gender roles don't exist within TTRPGs because it's all about the stats. It's all about their abilities. It's all about, can this person go out and defeat this demon lord who's come down to conquer? They don't care if they're male or female. Yes, there are some cultures within TTRPGs. You look at the Underdark Lolth followers who are a matriarchy. You look at some things that are patriarchies, whatever. But overall, when it comes to people actually playing the game, gender doesn't matter. And I mean, just look at bards. Bards are being bards. It doesn't matter who it is, what it is, anything. If it can consent, bards are there.
You also have a wide variety of races. And one of the things that I really appreciate is even though all of the races are different, everyone can work together. No one has to hate each other because of cultural history or whatever. And everyone has an advantage because of their particular culture or race that they're from. You are a dwarf, so you get dark vision. That is not something humans get, but humans have the versatility of an extra feat. These different races, even though they're all very different from each other, they balance each other out. There's something that other people of different cultures can offer in order to save the world.
One of the things that we've seen a discourse about recently, especially in TTRPGs, is about racism within a game. I think this especially was brought up around Baldur's Gate, where you saw a lot of inherent racism in the way that some characters addressed each other. So my first playthrough, I was playing a drow, which is the Underdark elf, who most of the time viewed as evil aligned. And it was very apparent when you'd go meet certain NPCs that they didn't like you because you were a drow. Or I was able to walk just straight into the goblin camp without a single problem, and I was so confused why that was hard for some people because I was a drow, and they saw me as an ally. But it sparked this discourse about what role is there really for racism within a game, even when the races we're talking about are fictional tieflings, drows, elves, whatever.
I also think there's a bit of wish fulfillment in having your players approach racism in the story, because we get to see the barbarian character just lay this guy out flat for being racist to the Hobbit. And there's the responses we all wish we could have toward these kinds of racism. Or even playing a racist character who learns about the reality of life and that, no, we can't put all of these people into this category.
Overall, it is something that you need to be careful about when including in your TTRPG or in your story. You have to go about it with a certain level of respect and to never make the racism a good thing. And I think that was one thing I liked about Baldur's Gate, was that the inherent racism that some players, some PC races did encounter was never portrayed as good. It was never portrayed as the right decision, but always with an air of, oh, this person has this view, and that's not a good thing.
I also think that there's a great way to approach ableism in games. There's a TikTok person who does ADHD&D. They play with their son, and they have their son roll for ADHD when making a knowledge check or when trying to do an athletics check or something like that. Was it something that they hyper-focused on at one point, and so they know all of the information? Or is it something that they were just gazing out the window during school and missed the entire lesson? These kinds of things can make it super interesting and add an interesting aspect to the character. Toph being blind has its disadvantages, but also she's found ways to cope with it that makes her more powerful because of it.
And that's the beautiful thing about TTRPGs and this collaborative storytelling. When you have players who choose a diverse range of characters, who have all levels of abilities, who have different capabilities and some disabilities, you still have a story where everyone has a role, where everyone has a say and can do something. So you can have characters who are amputees that have learned to navigate the world. You can have characters who are blind or who are deaf or who have communication disabilities or anything really. They can have struggles within the world, but still be the heroes.
And everyone having a role within your set of main characters as an author is huge in making sure that each of the characters feels interesting, feels unique, and everyone is important for solving the problem. So understanding the role of a group in order to solve a problem and that variety that is necessary in order to make that interesting is huge in making a story enjoyable to consume.
I think that piece especially is one that authors really need to understand. Having that understanding that each person, each player within the story, within the campaign has their specific role will help authors avoid the creation of Mary Sues and characters who can do everything. Because that's just not plausible, and it's most of the time not fun. If you had a character in your TTRPG who could do everything, all of the rest of the players would be bored and useless. That's just not fun.
You and I were talking about the story of Odysseus a couple of days ago and how he gets himself into trouble because he's trying to outsmart everybody around him. And what he really needs on his team is a Leroy Jenkins or to listen to Eurylochus. Listen to these characters who are like, dude, chill, stop trying to be clever, just do the job so we can get home.
There is a place for your strategic thinkers. There is a place for cleverness. But sometimes you just need that character who is going to jump in. I feel this mostly in my campaigns because I have a character, bless his heart, who thinks about everything, who contemplates every single decision. And the best balance that I have found for him is the character that thinks about nothing.
I would love to see him play a barbarian character. Little side note, the guy who narrates the intro and outro at the end of every episode, that guy.
He's great. He plays amazing characters in our campaigns. But decision paralysis is a thing. But the counter to him was our barbarian centaur who would just jump into problems and drag everyone else with him. And it was great because it helped things continue to move forward when the other players wanted to think about it too much.
And on the other side of the coin, not only do you not want to make sure that one person is super powerful over everybody else, you want to make sure nobody is left behind either. So as a DM, it's part of your job to make sure that everyone feels like they're participating. There is a challenge that only my engineer rat can solve. There is something that the person who is the hero is very vulnerable to. We're going to face that thing in order to bring them down and help the rest of the team feel like they're contributing. So as a storyteller, understanding these small characters that feel like they're always in the background and using them to be pivotal to the outcome of the story makes them feel worth it, and it pays off throughout the story and throughout the reader experience.
Ultimately, the concept is that it doesn't matter whether you are half-orc or halfling or elf or half-elf or whatever. What matters is the character, the strength, the weaknesses, how interesting the characters are, and the choices they make being more than who that character is. The world isn't perfect, whether it's Earth or Middle Earth or Faerun, but we can all do our part to make it a little bit better, especially when we
write selfishly.
If you have a question or comment for our hosts or a topic you'd like us to cover, send us an email at writingroots@aspenhousepublishing.com or find us on Facebook by searching for Aspen House Publishing.